Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to be continuing on with this week's theme of sounds from my inbox. We're going to be looking at bands that have contacted me specifically asking to have some of their stuff reacted to. So with that said, let's get into today's, which is from a band called Atwood. Interestingly, let's see right here. In the title, the A is capitalized, but in the channel name, the W is capitalized. So that's interesting. They got the lyrics down here, and it says that Out of the Blue, which is this song, tells the beauty of waiting for something good to come, and the wait becomes a bubble we lock ourselves in, oblivious of the passage of time. Out of sight, out of mind has never been more realistic. This premiered on November 21st, only a couple months ago. So I'm really interested to get into this one, and I don't know, see what's going on here. I don't even know what kind of music we're getting into, so let's go. Oh man, got a cassette tape.
Blending all the colors just to get black. Maybe now's the time to take a step back. Sometimes alone at night I wonder if I can look outside.
Interesting accents going on in the vocal line. The accents make sense in the melody, but they don't make sense in speech, so... Nice little fill to come in here. So I like this part. It's extremely chill, but it has like a tinge of sadness to it. But we're gonna move into the next section. A little bit of a pre-chorus. When the chorus comes in though, yeah, see, this section has a ton of drive to it. I'm interested in what we're going to do with the bridge. We got a build up in the electronica. Interesting little shift here to bring it to more of a... It's like a nice little mix between the chorus and verse. All right. Starting to formulate some thoughts here. So it's really interesting that this comes at us just a week after Pop Week. It sort of seems like it fits in rather well. Um, yeah, it just kind of fits in, and that's interesting. I kind of assumed that a lot of the stuff we would be getting, as far as requests, would be stuff that tends to fit within what the community seems to enjoy, which is more along the terms of heavier metal and progressive elements. That seems to be a lot of what people request here in the critical reaction community. So to have it says hashtag rock down here, but I've mentioned before, I'm not too big on genres. It's not something I like to really delve into on a serious matter. However, I do enjoy talking about genres. I don't know if it's just the part of me that really loves classification and structure, or if it's just a really interesting way to look at music within certain restrictions and kind of see how ideas proliferate throughout time and sort of moments, and how people connect with certain parts of genres and other parts of other genres and tend to mix them. So I think it's usually just really good conversation to kind of see how everything comes together. Um, so take all of this with a grain of salt. This to me is not really rock. It has a rock feel, but given the vocal styles and the overall timbre of the sound, I feel like it goes more towards pop. At best, I would put this as pop rock with a heavy leaning on pop, rather than something like uh, All American Rejects. I probably just dated myself there. I don't know what modern pop rock sounds. Imagine Dragons, is that modern pop rock? Um, Something that leans a little closer to rock but still has its pop roots. I see it as kind of the other way. Um, However, let's get into some of the actual stuff that's happening music wise. Um, the drums. I mentioned there was a really nice fill coming into the first chorus, and I found out later that that is probably a sampled fill, which upset me a little bit. I don't know if I displayed that when I noticed that the drummer was just using a sample pad. I think it would have been really impressive if they were like like pushing all the specific samples themselves and basically creating that fill on the fly. But being that it sounds almost identical to the fill that got faded out coming out of the bridge, I'm gonna say that that was a pre-configured fill. Now, we come into an interesting conversation here of, does performance matter? And I don't know if I want to get into that since I'm supposed to be reacting to this song. But I will just say maybe we can have this conversation in the comments or in the Discord or something. We can expand upon it then. But my brain tells me no. Performance doesn't matter. That was a clean fill that went into, is a very nice transition into the chorus. On paper, it is nice. The music itself is well composed at that point. But I can't lie that my heart sank a little bit when I noticed it wasn't a real drummer. And so there's definitely a disconnect between the analytical side of me and sort of the emotive side. I guess you could say the composer side and the performer side. As a composer, it doesn't matter. The music has been composed, and it doesn't matter who plays it or how it's played. That drum fill is going to sound similar. We're going to get timbre changes. Maybe we'll swap out some of the electronica drums for acoustic drums. They sound different. They have different timbres, different tones. But the fill itself is still structurally identical. What is on the paper will remain on the paper. But on a performer side, it's really disheartening to know that it's not being played on an actual drum set. There's no drumming performance there. Um, so yeah, that's one of those things that if I had known going into it, it would not affect me as much. It's about being in the right headspace, um, and meeting the song on its own terms. If I had known it was electronic drums, I would have been like, okay, that was a neat little sequence that was programmed. But I specifically said it was a neat fill, which again, it's just terminology. But in my mind, I'm picturing, a drummer and going down the toms, and then we end up just boop. So yeah, that's an interesting conversation. There is no right answer there. There is no right way to play music, right? Um, but there's definitely at least for me, a difference between understanding the music and hearing the music. Like I said, it's no different on paper. It's still whoever composed it, probably the guy who sequences the drum part. It works whether it's sequenced or composed and written in sheet music. It's the same thing. But yeah, it's just a little. I was a little disheartened when there wasn't a real drum. Um, but the guitar, see this. I wish I'd come in with the right mindset. I really do. I wish I had some sort of knowledge of what was going on, but that defeats the purpose of the reaction. I think it's always best to come in blind, uh, without any knowledge about what's going on. But we start off with a nice electronic drums sequence with the singing and the guitars, or with the guitar. And I thought that, okay, well, we got a nice little rock plus electronica idea going on. This has, you know, some really solid foundation. We can see some really cool stuff going off on top of this, and to see the guitar sort of underutilized. Um, just again, it's just a little disheartening. And it could just be this song. I have no idea what the rest of their album or the rest of their discography looks like. Um, but just it was such a sparse usage of the guitar, and it was mixed into a lot of the electronica samples, and it got lost, I think, often. It worked really well in the sparse vulnerable sections, but as soon as we reached something a little bigger like the chorus, the guitar tone was just, it was lost in the mix. So yeah, it's, but again, that's just another disconnect. It sounds good, right? I'm not going to argue that the guitar should have had more prominence when the song itself already sounds good. But because I saw a guitar there, and because it was featured so prominently, the drummer with his sample pad, I don't know what those are called. Um, he only showed up a couple of times, but the guitar was present in the beginning, in the middle, in the end. Like we always saw him playing the guitar, and it's really, for me, there's a small mental issue, a little hurdle, a mental hurdle when I see an instrument and I can't hear it. We've mentioned that before. If when I see a bassist playing in like a metal band, but they're sort of tuned, they're put solo in the mix that it's hard to listen for them or whatever, it upsets me a little bit. You're going to feature an instrument visually, but not in sonically, not in the audio. So yeah, but again, like I said, that's another little pet peeve of mine that doesn't influence the music. The music is still solid. I think this is a very good song. There's a pensiveness to it. There's a sorrow to it, but there's also a drive. As the description says, it is the beauty of waiting for something good to come, and then the wait becomes a bubble we lock ourselves in. The wait is definitely, there's beauty in it, right? Just sort of the journey to the destination. Yeah, the destination is going to be nice, waiting for that good thing to come, but also the journey to get there, the wait, the anticipation has its own sort of beauty and joy to that process as well. And I think the song does an excellent job of sort of capturing the multifaceted emotion of that. Um, like I said, it has a little bit of sorrow. There's definitely a tinge of sadness in here, But there's a lot of pensive melancholy, which I guess I don't know where I came up with that description, but it's perfect. It is the sadness of waiting, of sitting in one's thoughts. Um, but I also like how we continue to come back to that pensive section that we saw in the intro and the verse. It pops up several times. Even the bridge, which I think we'll get to the bridge in a second, but the bridge brings back the idea and sort of bridges both the chorus and the verse. Speaking of the chorus, before we get into the bridge, I like how the chorus is sort of the opposite. It's the reflection of the verse. The verse is about sitting in that pensiveness and the weight and the tension of wanting whatever you're waiting for to come. The chorus is the delivery. We are past that. We are moving forward. We have progressed to whatever the next thing is. There's a lot of driving momentum there that is simply not present in the verse, which is more of the pensive waiting. Now, the bridge marries these two. There is still a lot of that pensive melancholy. However, we have a bit more movement in the drums and we are getting a bit more of that drive. And it is a mix. It is sort of what I could see as maybe the end of the wait, the end of the journey, finally leading up to the destination here. It is interesting, though I'm not sure how it fits in narratively. But we do have the drum fill that feels like the build up into the final big chorus, and it fades out. And then we get sort of a quiet, serene pre chorus before we finish out the song. I think that's what happened. I remember the fade out, but I'm trying to remember. I think there was like a 4 bar, 2 or 4 bar little quiet section before we actually entered into that final chorus. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out maybe how that fits narratively, where we have like I said, the bridge kind of is the final push in the wait, and we are actually running into the delivery now. We're getting to whatever we're waiting for to come, and as soon as it feels like it should get there, we got this rising tension. The drum fill comes in, and it all fades out. Like, I'm not sure if that is saying that we finally got it and it wasn't worth it. Maybe the waiting was more, the anticipation was more emotive than actually getting whatever you're waiting on. Sort of like when you order something on Amazon and you're waiting your 2 days for it and you're so excited, and then you get it, and if it's like, a toy, maybe, a new video game or a new DVD, or maybe you got something to, I don't know, fix up your home automation or something, whatever kind of toys adults get. I mean, I guess some get Legos. I don't know. But whatever. And then you do the thing, and then the novelty's worn off and it sort of sits in the corner. Maybe it's like a new pair of headphones, and you dig into some music for a couple hours, but then it's just like your old pair of headphones, the novelty worn off. So I kind of like that idea, but I'm not sure that's what they were going for. Um, but yeah, so even though I like that concept, that the bridge sort of marries the two musical ideas, the bridge also sort of underperformed for me since it didn't really do anything. It was just a sparse soundscape, um, and the vocalist was repeating the last sentence of the chorus, I think. Um, yeah, just the bridge really could have had something more to it. It seemed to be a bridge because that's how you write songs. You write them in the ABABCB format, and they had to have a C because that's the format. Otherwise, I mean, if you don't do the C, you just do 3 verses on your second verse. You do 3 repetitions and then close the song out, and now you got a short song. So, uh, I don't know why the bridge was put there, other than to me it feels like that's just traditional modern songwriting. You got to have your bridge, so they just did something with the bridge. It was short, it filled the job of lengthening the song and putting some padding between the second and third chorus, but I don't really think it added anything to the song. So I would like to yeah, just kind of say that the bridge needs the bridge needed something. Maybe another, even just another vocal line. Figure out maybe the thesis of this. I mean, we have the thesis of the song right here, and maybe use the bridge as a sort of closing statement or a way to move forward from the thesis. Um, Something like that in there, because your chorus is going to be your main idea, right? It's the part that you hammer home. You repeat it 2 to 3 to 4 times in a song. That's what you want people. That's where your message is. That's where you want people to really take home. The verses are sort of your supporting details. If this was like an essay, right? You're writing an essay. You have your thesis, which is what your song is about. Usually, your title is going to be that. Um, and then your verses will be your supporting arguments, and your uh, choruses are going to be your, you know, your topic idea, the main thing that you want people to take away. The bridge, some people use it for another piece of supporting detail, which is fine as well. But I think it really should be more of the concluding paragraph where you sort of wrap everything up and either provide an answer to the questions that you've been presenting, or you sort of reiterate what you've been saying, um, or reiterate your thesis or your main idea into another, like a tangential comment, as far as lyric writing goes. And I would love to see more of that. I noticed that a bit when we did Pop Week last week, that a lot of the bridges were just a little sparse as far as musical effect. There wasn't really much going on there other than the fact that songs have bridges, so we've got them. And this just kind of fits into that trend. So, yeah, just like I said, even just putting a new set of lyrics in the bridges is going to set you apart from a lot of the other mainstream music that's coming out these days. So I guess that would be like my main critique there. Otherwise, I guess to wrap this up, the song makes me think. On a purely critical lens, I enjoy what's going on. I think it does a very good job of creating atmosphere and marrying the core idea in the lyrics with a lot of the musical aspects going on. However, on an emotive level, from more of a performance outlook, there are just some things that did not really mesh with me, and that's the drum and the guitar not really getting much prominence for different reasons. The drum had a lot of prominence sonically, but was done with it was done electronically, and then the guitar, which was physically present, was underutilized and hidden in the mix often. So yeah, just really torn on that. It's gonna be some interesting conversations in the Discord, I think, about this. So yeah, this is 25 minutes in for a 4-minute video. I think this is definitely one of the longer analyses I've had of a shorter song, which is really good. Usually the shorter stuff I don't really get to self-reflect on too much, and I really appreciate that this one really caused me to think about some of the ways that I experience music in different formats. I've had people ask me, can you turn your critical brain off when you listen to music, for whatever reason that you don't want to be critical? And yes, I can. I do. And but it's really interesting to sort of come to the conclusion that I have very different listening experiences on those two fronts. Like if I listened to this casually, I would have really enjoyed it. A lot of the musical aspects really come together to create a single unified song, both lyrically and musically. But on a critical lens, also somebody who enjoys acoustic live performances, well, not acoustic, real instrument live performances. I really try not to be too biased against electronica. It's something that I don't have a lot of experience with, and I do have a lot of negative baggage with it because I grew up in a lot of rock and classical and jazz, and a lot of those circles, those communities, look down on electronica because they're not playing their own instruments, and I have to deal with kind of being brought up musically in a lot of different communities with that message. So I do contend with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with not playing an instrument and creating electronica music, or creating music out of electronic devices, or VSTIs, or MIDI devices, or whatever. But there's definitely a part of me I need to come to terms with that is not happy with that. And that self-reflection will definitely allow me to grow, if nothing else, than allowing me to iterate my ideas, even if I never really do come to fully 100% support creating music with digital instruments when they're mimicking real ones. Yeah, there's just a lot there. Like I said, I hope to have some really strong conversations that help me to further dive into this in the way that I feel about it and stuff like that. So yeah, those are my thoughts. This is where you guys come and hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about Atwood's Out of the Blue. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, if you have anything you want to talk about regarding the topics that I've kind of brought up, the arguments I've brought up in this video, go ahead and hit me up in the comment section. It's also a description box if you want to check out any links adjacent to the channel, such as the Patreon, the Discord, all that stuff. There's links in there. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. They help out the channel immensely. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual, with another sound from my inbox. Until then, you guys stay safe out there, keep being amazing, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.